I really hope it will end up like that, but hopefully we should be good. Hopefully. I was seeing something about Trinidad being a testing ground for foreign entities. I feel like this Jake Tran video might help and explain what I'm talking about. Wait, oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say. I was looking to do something with I don't know if you watch this anime called Cyberpunk, but it has something where I was talking about the Great Corporate War, right? Which kinda technically going on right now. Where them had companies like Militech and Arasaka or something. So right now in the world we could say it Amazon, Google, Meta, which is Facebook, um, some other company, which also them is just a subsidiary of I think Alphabet. Amazon is its own thing. It basically have a bunch of companies who gonna be warring to take over the world now. And that's something like some real conspiracy theory shit, but these companies own all the media companies as well. They own a lot of shit, right? And they influencing governments and entire generations with the tech and what they could basically what I say is they could basically determine the future and the way of life for a lot of people. So when you hear Elon Musk talking about Neuralink, you understand? Yeah, Amazon who controls like the entire internet, you understand? And basically you could spam people. They just use same way with the vaccine, right? Where they use it and they experiment with the rules and regulations in certain countries before they implement them in more, I would say, affluent countries. Right now, they experiment with spy programs, right? And they sound like some madman thing, but they definitely have stuff that going on here through flow services, through player services, where it are people who straight up spying on you, dog. I don't mean like, oh, you probably just click something after you get a cookie or something like that after it just it trying to recommend stuff to you. I mean straight up spying on you, because you know in a place like Trinidad people not going to care or we just take but normal. You understand? Like we not really going to trip off of certain things. Like a company could come here do a bag of shit, thief all we oil, do we go whatever they really want, and we not really going to you act like we care but we not really gonna do anything. You know, and once they just give you something nice, we're gonna go back to life as usual. And I can't even blame the average person, because the average person out there had to work at school, had kids to see about, you know what I mean? So they can't really. Plus, the educated populace in this country, or the elite of this country, probably in on it or making money off it. So that is the monopolization of the bullying of our civilization, you know what I'm saying? So, so yeah. It are companies here who is doing messed up shit. And I just pray, dog, I just one person. I just really hope that they don't plunge you into a civil war, some kind of messed up shit just for the pleasure. Because you might think that not possible. You understand? You might think that not possible, but watch what happened in is Indonesia is no not Indonesia, Sri Lanka, I think. The entire country just go on bust, dog. A family thief out all the money and just bust out like normal. Look upon the history of a lot of African countries as well, where people just come through, below the country, take all the resources, destabilize the entire nation. You understand? It are different tribes, the poke civil wars between them, and just flick it up and bust out. And now they're making the cash off fight in the most lethal ways. And I really hope Caribbean leaders are smart enough to realize what's going on, and they don't allow that to even reach here. You know what I mean? I really hope. I can call the companies. I mean, one is probably Cambridge Analytica. You know, they could probably see me as well. You know what I mean? Because if you talk on certain things, you will be banned. You will be blackballed. And the scary thing about it is, if you talk about it, they will basically say, "Dog, you have no way some random bullshit streamer will know about some shit like this. Like, who's you? Just another conspiracy theorist ass person who just talking shit for attention." And it's like, nah, bro. Like, this shit real. Like, this is really happen. You understand what I'm saying? So, yeah. Um, it have people online spying on you right now, and the budget is not even the worst part, bro. Because it very I wanna say it's very easy, but it very blatant. Like at least in America, when they have corruption, they try to hide it behind at least a couple of layers of bullshit, proper bullshit that you can't smell. You understand? Like they will at least try to hide how they scamming you. Here, they will scam it to your face, bro, and we really wouldn't care because we just take it. We still focus on race and who wanna vote. Like dog, to this day, our family who will just fight on race and I voted for PNM because of this. I voted for UNC because of that. And them nigga, and them gully, and it's like, dog, that shit so far back behind my mind, bro. It don't even make sense. But when you have a destabilized public who under the laws of divide and conquer, which is the oldest trick in the book, though, like the oldest trick in the book. You know, some people who didn't invent the wheel didn't understand this. You could destabilize a nation by just using divide and conquer, and it's being used on us right now. They look that this is why these white people will come here, or these Syrians will come here and look down upon us and be like, we's all just a bunch of dumb monkeys that they could take advantage of. You understand? And it's very evident. I had the people who realize it, but they're in a position where they could probably only save themselves. And if they try and talk about it, they might die. Like, I fully recognize how some reporters going missing recently. Some reporters that die, you know. People that get killed and shit. So, it's full on mafia shit out there, dog. I post certain things on TikTok, right? And I want to say that's me alone, but I post certain things. I post an emancipation thing, right? On my IG. I post on my story. 50 something views after like a day or something. So I post some bullshit with Kamala and Rowdy bullying out the nation. That was that kind of sneak in the comedy now, way. Almost 1,000 views. It's gone up one time in less than a day, bro. Then after I pop up next thing, see, you know, BSS catch the eyes. You understand? And it just crazy, and it's make it when you see stuff like that, it's give you an incentive to be like, yo, better I just make my money and fuck away, you know, dog. Because people go forever just be in a cycle of bullshit that you can't really. I mean, who is me to say like if I could liberate somebody, you know what I mean? But dog, we could be on some Singapore shit, you know. The hub of the Caribbean type shit, you know. We's an oil rich country, you know, bro. But we just export we oil to other countries and we barely even getting paid for it, dog. Barely even. It'll take a genius to figure out this shit. And then the average person will come and say, well, you know, I don't like to talk politics. Cause I find politics just cause bacchanal. And it's like none of people just talk politics and a lot of people just talking shit. You know what I'm saying? They just be talking shit. And of course these matters are way more complicated than they seem. You know? But that's what people just use to hide the blatant bullshit is by saying it way more complicated than it's seen, when in reality it's actually very simple sometimes. A lot of the times actually. But you see when you're greedy now, boy, like I had to say again, an example was Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka get bull out dread, dog. Our whole family come through and just rape out the family do this at all. Like on some royal family shit. Just come and rape out the nation normal and just bust out, bro. Destabilize the whole country. Could have plunged into civil war. Hopefully it didn't. I don't think it did. But we have potential to end up like fucking Venezuela, bro. Or the Congo. God forbid. You know, God forbid, but you see it happen. I'm looking for the video right now the show happened in Sri Lanka. For those who didn't see it. But yeah, that was say you gotta be careful. And use your votes wisely as well. But I understand why most people they're just stuck in a position where they're choosing between two evils, because for one, some people will say, give me the devil I know than the devil I don't know. And I kinda understand that, bro. But this devil, the devil, you know, he getting accustomed, you understand? He stopped using lube, he just sticking it in hard right now. And jamming it with no mercy. You understand? No mercy at all. Everybody posting up after the budget, take bull. It's like, dog, if you've got a different government, you feel the same thing when happen. If you can't stop, you feel the amount of assassin. I don't know when Kamala was in power, dog. People was getting assassinated. It wasn't just murders, no, dog. Like Ben was getting assassinated, bro. Like hit style shit like the Pennywise thing, but times 10. I don't know if you remember them thing though. Nah, Paul cool, man. Yeah, me so calling name for the pass up in my fucking head. Wait, you know what way? It was Dread? What you gonna do, boy, when you have no power, but you know, what popcorn is it? The most power they gain is with the mouth. But yeah, these people have M16s, you understand? Not just the mouth alone. They have a cartel behind them, you understand? And that is tough. Like taking some Jake Tran. I know if you know Jake Tran, but you will learn tonight.
So you're the leader of a third world country, like Sri Lanka. You are adored by your 22 million loyal followers, and you have the entire country under your control. But that is just not enough. Sure, you're in a position of power, but your salary sucks. What good is power if you just leave your position broke? How are you gonna feed your family and fly them on private jets? You are the leader of this fine nation. You deserve to get paid what you're worth. And the only way to do that is to steal as much money as humanly possible while you're still in office. Got it? See, unlike power, you get to keep the money you pocket as president once you leave office. And since most developing nations don't really have checks and balances, or transparency over why decisions are made or how money is used, funneling money into your own pocket while turning your homeland into a failed state is very doable, if you know the right tactics. And that's exactly what happened to Sri Lanka.
The people of Sri Lanka have the numbers, and they've had enough.
The ruling Rajapaksa dynasty bled the country dry for more than a decade. They stashed away billions of dollars outside the country while they were in power. And when the people finally had enough, they simply packed up their bags and fled the country to never be seen again.
Has left the country along with members of his family.
The president, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, has now fled the country.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his wife have fled the country on a military jet.
And since they stored their billions out of reach outside the country, they get to now spend the rest of their lives living the billionaire lifestyle, while Sri Lanka completely collapses. How many billions did they make off with, you ask? Well, Sri Lankan investigators said they found more than $10 billion kept offshore under the names of family and...
How much money do you need, bro? How much money do you need or want? 10 billion, bro. Come on, dog. By the time I get 500 mil, I chillin'. What you gonna spend now on my dog, boy? Buy a farm somewhere in the US, you understand? It's self-sufficient. You can fly anywhere for years. You can buy 1 or 2 private jet. Well, nah, I guess, you see, men wanna get a yacht and men wanna be in a Amalfi Coast and wanna do. But you ain't bong for like a whole thing, dog. Breeze, dog. How many is a 500, bro? If you look do for 1,000, but all them men sick on us.
friends of the dynasty. That is $10 billion that the family managed to quietly siphon out of the country while they were in office. It's more than the entire country has in cash. So as you can see, the Rajapaksa family were masters at this game. In the media, people cried that this was outrageous. Sri Lanka has fallen and it's all this family's fault. But you and I know different. You and I both know that this is just how things typically work in developing nations. And if you're the leader of one of these developing nations, everyone else is doing it. So you might as well get in on the action. And this is the step-by-step guide you've been waiting for. My name is Jake Tran, and we make documentaries on money, power, war, and crime so that you can see the world for what it really is. A giant game of acquiring power. You can't get out of this game either way, so instead of being a victim, why not learn to be a better player? Your parents, teachers, friends, society will never teach you any of this, so we're going to. Stay dangerous and let's learn how to milk your country dry.
Good night, Tyrone. We're talking about the bullying of the nation. The coming time. You dig? Fun on coming time.
The reason why the Rajapaksa family made off with so much money is because they buried the country in debt. And the people that gave Sri Lanka all this debt, they weren't doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. They profited from it too. The more they shackle third world countries in debt, the more leverage they have over them. When these countries can't pay back their debts, oh well, I guess you're just gonna have to give us all your natural resources.
I.e., what is happening to we from the Chinese? That's what I'm saying, my dog, but after Rowley, I don't go and bend the knee to Xi Jinping.
Guess you just have to let us build this military base on your land. This strategy of shackling poor countries in debt is so effective that there's a term for these people: economic hitmen. I learned about this from the book Confessions of an Economic Hitman by John Perkins, and it completely blew my mind. It's an insane book that everyone should read. And the great thing is, you can listen to this audiobook for free right now when you sign up for Audible with the link below.
Yeah, fuck that. I would tell all them men I had this site called PDF Drive. Look up PDF Drive. You're getting all these books for free. It's not on Audible. You gotta read, but you know, your lazy ass should be reading. You understand what I'm saying? If I want that, learn to fucking read.
Are your skills. Because while a job can be taken away from you, your skills and knowledge can't. And the most convenient way to learn skills is with audiobooks, because you can listen to them while you're doing other stuff. And the best platform for audiobooks is without a doubt Audible. It's got the largest selection of titles. Once you sign up for Audible, you get to choose one of those titles every single month from their entire catalog. And if you have Amazon Prime, you get to start out with 2 free titles instead of just one. 500, 500. Jake Tran to 500, 500. Thanks to
man, dread with the odds on the bro. I swear there's please now we can't skip it on your heart.
Developing nations, there are really only 2 ways to become president, no matter how democratic the process is supposed to be. Either you come from a wealthy, respected, well-established family, or you people please. You appeal to the masses. And in the case of the Rajapaksa family that ruled Sri Lanka, they used both tactics. You see, the Rajapaksas had been wealthy and well-known in Sri Lanka long before they became the ruling family. They originally made their money from coconut and rice farming. But then came the Sri Lankan Civil War, which lasted for more than 25 years from 1983 to 2009. In a nutshell, a rebel group named the Tamil Tigers waged war against the government for discriminating against them and their people. And that's where the Rajapaksa family really made a name for itself. In 2005, Mahinda Rajapaksa became the president of Sri Lanka
So I just say, what going on with this man's eyes, bro? And what is my what do you want, right? Jeez!
thanks to his family's good name. Not long after, he appointed his younger brother Gotabaya as the country's Minister of Defense. Together, the Rajapaksa brothers carried out a ruthless campaign against the Tamil Tigers, during which many people accused them of crimes that we can't talk about on this channel. Long story short, the Tamil Tigers were officially defeated in 2009, and the 2 Rajapaksa brothers, they became national heroes for bringing peace to the nation. For 10 years, Mahinda Rajapaksa ruled Sri Lanka. That was until 2015, when a new leader from a different family was chosen. But for the Rajapaksa family, that just wasn't acceptable. They had gotten a taste of power, of money, of absolute control over millions of people's lives, and their thirst was nowhere near satisfied. So in 2018, Gotabaya Rajapaksa announced his decision to run for president. Backed by his status as a Sri Lankan war hero and defense minister, and with all his family's money, taking power would be a piece of cake. But Gotabaya had big plans for his time as president, and he wasn't gonna leave anything to chance. So he went on a people-pleasing spree like nothing the world had ever seen before. And one of his biggest campaign promises? Massive tax cuts for everyone. His plan worked like magic. No one in Sri Lanka asked.
You see, and this is the problem we're facing right now. Where we are 2 parties who's so people-pleasing. You understand? Is the other greedy, or they're just people-pleasing to get back in power? The people-pleasing, but they're not pleasing the people, if you understand what I'm saying now. When you create tax cuts for everybody, what you feel gonna happen? And as all the rules are bad already, like they would stay bad, or even worse, you go and starve, dog, because taxes are to pay for shit. But anyways,
asked how the government planned to pay for healthcare, school, or infrastructure after these tax cuts. No one cared that Gotabaya Rajapaksa was promising them something without considering the consequences. No. For everyday Sri Lankans who worked hard to earn their money, tax cuts were a dream come true. So in November 2019, Gotabaya Rajapaksa became president of Sri Lanka. And in the next 3 years, he would give you, our power-grabbing, money-hungry leader of a third-world country, the perfect action plan for taking your people for every last cent they have.
you see right about now, you see what's for the storming right now? Yeah, son, but I hope that the red house now, brother. I just say.
A single president can steal a lot of money, but an entire government of corrupt officials? They can take a country for everything it's worth. That's why to really make the most of your time and power and steal as much money as possible, you're gonna need help. That's why you gotta promote as many family members as possible into positions of power. You want to flood key government positions with your bloodline. This should be easy as long as you distract the people with something they love, like tax cuts, new developments, or fancy-sounding social programs.
Which is about to happen. You're gonna see a bunch of social programs popping up. I'll have people just working like slaves and talking about, yeah, we get money and we have a government work and we save and all kind of shit. And it's like, bro, you're a slave. You understand? You're normal slave, bro. But you know.
As long as the people are focused on all the quote-unquote good you're doing, they won't notice you quietly filling the government with your goons. And once you control the country's budget, every last cent of its money is yours for the taking. In the first 2 years of Gotabaya Rajapaksa's presidency, his brother Basil was appointed finance minister, his other brother Chamal was made a cabinet minister, and almost every other cousin, nephew, niece, aunt, and uncle was put in some position of power in the government. By the time Gotabaya ran out of relatives to employ, the Rajapaksa family controlled around 75% of the Sri Lankan government's budget. They created a monopoly, not a business monopoly, but a government monopoly. And thanks to their war hero status after the Civil War, everyone was happy that Sri Lanka was being ruled by pretty much one family. I mean, if the brothers were good enough to beat the Tamil Tigers, obviously having the whole family involved in politics would be great for the country and economy. Let's be honest. Most third world countries don't exactly have billions of dollars lying around for you to steal. And unlike America, you can't just print more money because that would tank the value of your currency, which leaves you with a bit of a problem. How are you gonna get rich if there's no money to steal?
Note, humans are the most valuable resource on this planet. Don't let nobody ever thief your head and make you think that's not the case. Humans are one of the most valuable resources on this planet. You can eat them too if you need to.
That's where our guy Gotabaya comes in with the winning strategy again. You see, in 2020, he was faced with the same dilemma. The tax cuts he promised had cut the government's revenue by 25%. And then COVID came along and shut down the tourism industry, which was responsible for 12% of the country's GDP. Sri Lankans working abroad also stopped sending money back home. All of this meant that there really wasn't a lot of money lying around for his family to steal or misuse. But luckily, that's where the magic of debt comes in. See, it's super easy for third world nations to get money from banking institutions like the International Monetary Fund or IMF, the World Bank, or China. You simply go to them and say, "Our people are suffering, we don't have any food or infrastructure. You need to give us as much money as possible for developments and social programs." You say these projects are going to take your country to the next level, and you'll be able to pay them all back with interest, no problem. And then they'll write you a fat check.
Thank you.
Why? Because these people aren't giving you money out of the kindness of their heart.
Big damn money is not a...
No problem.
Let's listen to what is
and then they'll write you a fat check.
Thank
fat
you.
check.
Why? Because these...
How fat this man head is now, but this a moon creator flicking it. Wee! Got the circumference and a perfect line out right here. Let's stop. Stop you fucking anyway.
These people aren't giving you money out of the kindness of their hearts. They're giving you a loan that you have to pay back with interest. And when you can't repay them, they tighten the noose around you. Your country falls under their influence, their control, which is what happens to a lot of developing countries that take these loans. But you don't care if you leave your country shackled in debt. So you take as many loans as you can and put the money into your pocket. But the problem is, you can't be that brazen about it. You actually have to look like you tried to use the money for good, or else the masses will revolt.
You understand? Build up a couple of flyovers, a couple of walkover. You understand? Say we're doing this little program here, we're going to pay 3 million or 10 million here. We're going to pave this road that we say, we just never pave, you understand? But all of a sudden, we're going to pave it with some bullshit material, and we know it's going to come back bad. But you know, we get like 100 million and we give all, you know, 20 million in flyovers. And the rest of the money, well, it disappears.
So here's what you gotta do. Once you get the loans, You use that money to pay for massive construction projects like buildings, hospitals, and airports. The key here is that the companies you pay to build these projects are owned by none other than your friends and family. Now you may be wondering, but I want money in my pocket, not just my friends and family. Calm down, calm down. You simply make a deal with them that you get control over your cut of these funds that get paid. It doesn't matter if the bank account is under their name and not yours. In fact, it should be under their name and not yours. All that matters is that you're able to spend the money as if it was your own. If that strategy draws a bit too much attention, you can easily make a deal with an outside business to do the work for you. But just arrange an under-the-table deal to make sure they secretly pay you a cut of the money you give them. That way, a chunk of every payment you or your family pays from the government's account for these developments makes its way back into your pocket. And since your family controls the country's entire budget, you never have to struggle to get approval for payments or projects because you're all equally corrupt and equally happy to bleed the country's coffers dry. The more debt you rack up, the more pointless buildings you construct, the more money you stand to make. And this is exactly what the Rajapaksa dynasty did in Sri Lanka. By 2019, foreign debt was around 42% of the country's GDP. That meant the Sri Lankan government would have to use almost half of all the money every person in Sri Lanka made in a year to pay back its debt. This debt was used to import food and medicine. And even though it seems like a lot, the country's debt was manageable. That was until Gotabaya Rajapaksa got involved. He racked up the country's debt as fast as possible from China or the IMF, while claiming it was for some big development or to help uplift the people, when in reality, he was using it to build vanity projects like airports and unused hospitals. All developments Sri Lanka didn't really need, but it made the government look good. And just 2 years later in 2021, Sri Lanka's foreign debt ballooned to 119% of its GDP. This dude borrowed $56 billion in 2 years. And you know what that means. A good chunk of that $56 billion went straight into their pockets. That meant even if the government took all the money the entire country made in a year, it still wouldn't be enough to pay off its debt. So now that you've extracted as much money as you can from your country, now all you have to do is find somewhere to hide all that cash so no one can ever trace it back to you. As you're bleeding your country dry, you want to make sure all that money flows to offshore accounts using all sorts of fake shell companies and bank accounts. That way, it will be nearly impossible to trace the money back to you, and you'll be able to enjoy your stolen millions in peace. The great thing is that there's an entire industry that specializes in helping people like you who value privacy set these things up. It's just a quick Google search away. But beware. Sometimes there are leaks that happen where you will get exposed for doing stuff like this. Like what happened to the Rajapaksa family. They had been involved in Sri Lankan politics since the 1940s. But thanks to a decades-long civil war and the fact that the family ran the government for more than 10 years, there's no real record of any of their actual wealth. With family members in every powerful position, the Rajapaksas managed to remove all the checks and balances that would have kept track of how much they were really worth. And they did all of this. They set up the shell companies.
Sorry to interrupt again, but only remember when the country was changing the money from the old money to polymer? Then all of a sudden we find out this pastor is a millionaire, this person here is a millionaire, this person how much million over here, how much 100,000 below the bed or kind of thing. And they just take away these people money, the blackmail whoever. You understand? And you was at the mercy of the government. I had to go stand up in our bank and change how much money. How much tankies get robbed, all kind of thing. Walking out from the bank. No kind of structure. Them just do that shit to see who had money. And we like Trinidad, we sound like some stupidies. Nobody even question it in the ID in the bank like, yo, nobody realize what's happening right now, but you know now it's not shell. What you gonna do?
They set up the offshore accounts. But then in 2021, the Pandora Papers dropped.
Pandora Papers, as they're being called.
So world leaders, powerful politicians, even drug dealers
were revealed in almost 12 million files.
It was a massive data leak exposing thousands of offshore accounts and their owners' details, which also included accounts held by the Rajapaksa family worth tens of millions of dollars. Just one of the family's lower-level government members was reportedly worth $160 million. And there's no way all of it came from their coconut and rice farming. No matter how good you
Gaslight the population who they driving through it.
are at hiding corruption, it's only a matter of time until one of your pesky, annoying subjects figures out something's not right. It doesn't matter how well you cover your tracks. Eventually, people are gonna notice billions of dollars evaporating into thin air.
Like an anonymous kakao on the internet who's streaming.
And that's when you gotta go on the defensive. While Sri Lanka's foreign currency was running out thanks to all the debt Gotabaya racked up and all the useless projects he started, the president did his best to pretend everything was perfectly fine. He got the Sinhalese Buddhist community to openly voice their support for him while blasting state-owned media channels with all the good work the government was doing. Sri Lanka ranks 127 out of 180 countries for freedom of the press, so getting the media to stick to the government's narrative wasn't that hard. And when that wasn't enough to stop people from realizing the country was running out of money, he just told the banks to print more. He didn't care that printing more money would mean that inflation would skyrocket. He knew this wouldn't last forever, so you might as well milk it while you can. But then Sri Lanka's foreign currency reserves started running out, and that was a problem he couldn't fix with any of his usual tactics. You see, countries with debt from the IMF or World Bank have to pay that debt back in dollars, not in Sri Lankan rupees. But since Sri Lanka was now importing more than it was exporting, the COVID-19 pandemic had completely stopped tourists from visiting and bringing their foreign currency with them, and the country was facing billions of dollars in repayments. All the government's foreign reserves were running low. By 2021, there was only $1.8 billion in foreign reserves left. It got so bad that in a desperate move to stop spending the country's dollars, President Gotabaya actually banned fertilizer imports to Sri Lanka. He told everyone he wanted Sri Lanka to become the world's first country with 100% organic farms.
You all need to carpool, you understand, to reduce the carbon emissions in the air. Because global warming is an issue and we need to come together as a nation to stop this and have a healthier population. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, boy, dog, boy, vote for me next.
So noble. But the truth was, Sri Lanka was running out of dollars and euros to pay for imported goods, and fertilizer was one of the first imports to be cancelled. Unfortunately, instead of preventing an economic catastrophe, banning fertilizer imports was the straw that broke the camel's back. The country's rice production dropped by 50%. Rice is a staple food for millions of families in Sri Lanka, and just a few months after the ban, the government was forced to start importing rice to feed the people. So banning fertilizer had actually just made the country's problems worse. And then Russia invaded Ukraine, pushing up the prices of everything from fuel to flour. Again, not great news for a country that has to import almost everything. The noose was slowly tightening around the Sri Lankan economy, and it wasn't long before things really started to spiral into chaos. If you're a good strategist, even while your country is going down in flames, there's a chance you can ride out the storm. Hundreds of presidents around the world have stolen millions from their countries while still keeping the people's faith in their government. Unfortunately, Gotabaya Rajapaksa did not have that skill. If you push your country to the brink of collapse and your subjects start revolting, it's time to pack up your bags and get out before the pitchforks reach you. By the end of 2021, Sri Lanka was running out of everything.
Cool flag.
Food, fuel, electricity, medicine, even paper that schools needed to print exams on. In just a few months, 500,000 Sri Lankans fell into poverty because everything had to be imported. And the insane fuel prices meant things like food and gas became completely unaffordable. By 2022, the real inflation rate in Sri Lanka sat around 132%.
Jesus
And
Christ.
then, just as it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, the government announced that all fuel sales in Sri Lanka would be suspended too. Suddenly, no one could fill up their cars, planes were
Sounding
grounded,
familiar?
and then the power outages started. The Sri Lankan people had had enough. In early 2022, thousands of people took to the streets in protest. And if your country reaches this point, there's really only one thing you can do. Pack up your stuff and run. In April 2022, the Sri Lankan government announced it didn't have enough money to pay back its debt and it would be defaulting on all $51 billion of it. And in May, it announced the country only had around $50 million in foreign currency left.
Dog, you telling me Kanye West richer than an entire nation, though? Imagine that. A man who make 808 and heartbreaks have more money than your entire nation. But caca whole thing, my dog, boy.
$50 million to buy fuel, medication, food, and essential supplies? Enough was enough. The Rajapaksas had once been Sri Lankan national heroes. Now the people wanted their heads on a stick. So they started storming the homes owned by the Rajapaksa family. It got so bad that Mahinda Rajapaksa, the country's prime minister, had to be evacuated by the military, while President Gotabaya was spotted fleeing the country on a military jet. On July 10, 2022, just as Gotabaya fled the country, thousands of protesters stormed the presidential palace. They were filmed drinking the president's alcohol, swimming in his pool, and not even the Sri Lankan military cared enough to stop them. For the people, it felt like a victory. But the reality? The Rajapaksas took their millions with them when they fled. They are set for life, leaving everyday Sri Lankans to deal with the fall of their country. Having corrupt leadership may have been one of the reasons Sri Lanka is in crisis right now, but there are many other ways to destroy a country's economy in future. And no one knows that better than America. For centuries, the American government secretly toppled anti-American presidents around the world to replace them with American-friendly puppet leaders. But the funny thing is, most of the time, instead of getting better after the coup, the country's actually descended into chaos, leaving things way worse than they were before. And the best example of that is Iran. In 1951, Iran elected a democratic prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh. Unfortunately for them, America didn't like Mossadegh all that much because he planned on kicking American and British businesses out of the country. So just 2 years after becoming president, the CIA orchestrated a coup that forcibly removed him from office and replaced him with one of their puppets. But there was no way America could ever have anticipated the consequences of that one little act of aggression. The 1953 Iranian coup was the first domino to fall, directly or indirectly resulting in some of the worst terror attacks in history. But here's the thing, going into all the details on Iran and terror attacks will definitely get demonetized. So instead we released it as a private
I'm trying to get into that before they come from my ass too. All I just say is Osama bin Laden come from the bin Laden family that actually is a very affluent family. Have millions, if not billions, are assuming, you know, when you assume make a ass out of you and me, but that man decided to go and live in a cave and blow up people. What will motivate a man to do something like that? I don't know. But you know now, by dog boy, I not on that. I just say not one time. I a man is gonna stream and watch anime now, by dog boy. But all I could say is I looking at my country from a different kind of view right now. And if the public don't get a little wise and understand what's going on, well, bye. All we could do is pray that God is still at Trinity. And we end up like Congo now, by dog boy. I know I say not a lot, but I ain't looking the stream for too long again. I just don't know the different kind of pains I'll be going through. But as you already know, you could join my Discord, message me on Facebook or Instagram. To join the Discord, I'll try and send you a link, you understand? One man say in the comments here, Colombia president pre-1940 also did pretty much the same thing. The country had so much debt that even Pablo Escobar made an offer to pay off so they wouldn't extradite him. You understand? And Pablo Escobar was no shipping man, dog. I how much a man nigga to hear talking about, but I want to be like Pablo Escobar, like El Chapo. Dog, these niggas is multinational. You understand? These niggas actually intelligent. Use a caca with a 9 who is terrorizing doubles vendors. So yeah, if you want to use a 9, you use it smartly now, dog boy. To cause a revel on some Abu Bakr shit. But you know, I take that back. I had really mean that. But you know, you understand? You understand? I talk shit too, but you kind of talk shit too now, but if you know what I mean now, dog boy. Because I have been blacklisted. I just say it not out right now. If you come on TikTok, you gonna realize what I mean. But as usual, you could join the Discord like I say. Jeff Ventures Discord. Hit me up on IG or Facebook. I have a lot of more stuff like this to come. I have documentaries I want to make as well in the works that I am planning. Scripts has been written. But you know now by dog boy. For more info and more inside that shit, join the Discord. Jeff Ventures